Welcome everyone to On Creativity Live. I'm joined by Prabal Gurung.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You just recently celebrated your brand's 10th anniversary with a powerful collection titled Who Gets to Be American, and published your first book, Prabal Gurung, Style and Beauty with a Bite. And I happen to have one here. It is absolutely gorgeous. I just need for you to sign it the next time we get together.
It's a done deal. Yeah, for sure. I've never been big on nostalgia. When it was time for like 10 years, I was just like, there's so much more to do. Then I realized my story and my success has no longer just been mine. It's a collective effort by my team, by my parents, especially my mother, my siblings, my friends, and the entire industry. It was my way of saying thank you to them and to acknowledge that, while this has been a great 10 years, but I've got much more to do.
Well, it's wonderful to have something tangible and for all your many fans to have this to reflect on. You launched your company at the height of the recession in 2009, quite the risk.
Yes.
And things are kind of back at that point again.
So what I'm hoping for your students is to have a realistic point of view of what the job market is going to look like, so they are prepared for it mentally. If they could come together, especially your students, and have like a think tank, right, of like how do they see the world moving forward. And also, I do hope they'll be able to use all the tools that's out there, whether it's like on digital, social media. If some of them have the access or the means or the privilege, I think they should study a little bit more, maybe do their masters. I'm aware that not everyone has that privilege. I think the reality of it is it's going to be tough.
Your brand is very focused on US-based production. Yes. What has that commitment done for your label as far as quality control, supply chain, and consumer relationships?
90% of our clothes are made in New York. I wanted to make sure the quality control and the carbon footprint, I wanted to keep it at the minimum. I felt that I owed it to this country. I came here knowing no one, just to pursue my American dream. And I was like, I want to be able to give back even in the smallest possible way. And that's how it started. It was a conscious decision, and I'm glad that I stuck by it. It's good to see, this factory workers and the seamstresses there whose kids were like little, now they're grown, and it feels good.
How do you think unexpected circumstances like the current pandemic impact a creative process?
In a moment like this situation we are in right now, it makes you think in so many layers about your choices, personal and professional choices, things that you've done and things you could have done better. And I think it's extremely important to acknowledge each and every moment of our lives, the highs and the lows. Compassion, empathy, humility is not learned during the most successful times. It is during the most challenging times that you learn. And you also learn more than anything else, you learn your own resilience. If you didn't have challenging days, if you didn't have bad days, you would have no idea what a good day means.
Yeah, the mountaintops and the valleys.
Yeah.
This pandemic is affecting the way fashion collections are shown and probably will for some time. What's your prediction?
I hope people understand the role of fashion. It's very easy to be like, who needs fashion? But fashion is just not about clothes. Fashion is about so many things. Fashion is about making clothes, making, like material stuff, but it's also about employment. It's an industry, especially in America. So my hope is that, the world realizes importance of art and creativity. When you decide to wear a certain brand, certain dress, certain clothing item, you're not just wearing clothes. It really tells who you are as a person. What you wear is who you are.
Mm-hmm. It has an impact on the people who see you too.
Yes, exactly. That's true.
As a champion for inclusivity in the fashion industry, how do you characterize the industry now as opposed to when you first started?
Like how it used to be, there was a blatant display of racism passed off as personal taste and choice. It was rather horrendous, to be completely honest. I think digital and social media and everything has made us all aware of, taught us a lot, conversation about it. I do think we have a very, extremely, immensely long way to go. I still think it is a handful full of designers and people who are talking about it. Majority are still hoping that those issues they don't have to deal with. I want to be grateful for the progress being made, but I'm also realistically, I would say skeptical, like aware, vigilant about where we're going.
For years, you've been a courageous voice in fashion. Thank you for all your work in forging a brighter future. I'd like to invite sophomore fashion design student Cassie D onto the Zoom.
Thank you, President Wallace, and thank you, Prabal. I'd love to ask you, what skills do you recommend honing during quarantine, and what seems missing in new graduates entering the workplace?
The technical skills, that's the best thing to do. When the job market opens up, you're able to go there, submit a sketch. If you're hired, submit a sketch, you're able to quickly drape it and sew it and bring it to life. I also think it's the greatest opportunity right now. Go back at history of fashion, centuries, just learning as much as you can. I think the financial aspect of it, the business side of it, even though you may not have to deal with the business side, it's always good to know how a business is done, even if you don't have to deal with it. And then have that humility and patience that your time will come. But glamour, I always say, comes with a very, very high cost. 95% of hard work, arduous, banal, mind-numbing work for a 5% of glamour.
Our next question's wondering how or at what point you merged your multicultural background and formed your own identity as a designer.
When I launched my company, there were rules that were set by the establishment that you had to follow. So that was like a blueprint that the entire industry followed. Do this, XYZ, you win this, you do this, you do that. I followed the blueprint. I got the tick box of things that comes along with following that, right? And that assimilation really bothered me for the longest period of time. I just didn't have the courage to say it in the beginning. I just felt like not fully satisfied. During that time, in 2009, fashion was a celebration of either women who cared about fashion, who were frivolous and stupid, or if you were smart, you didn't care about fashion. And I didn't see the world like that. I started my foundation 9 years ago, literally a year into my business. So that kind of brought me into, give me a sanity. And I started talking about being partnering Planned Parenthood and all this stuff and everything that I was doing in America. But it came to full fruition. One day I realized, I was just I no longer want to do the business that has been told or prescribed by someone else whose experience is not like me. And that was the day that was the most freeing. It was the most scary. And it was the day that I decided to open my collection with, it was for 2012, I don't know, 13, 14, whatever it was. It was a military collection. And I opened with Ji-Hai, this Korean model. I think she's Korean, yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, that was a radical move, because what used to happen during that time before that was, all right, we'd be doing castings. Okay, you have 2 black models, 1 Asian, or it'll be 2 Asian girls and 1 black. You're good. There was never a conversation about inclusivity or diversity, not at all. And that was business as usual. But the biggest moment I think it came through was when our President Trump won the election. During that time, I think was really a shift in the entire industry, because the entire industry was campaigning for Hillary. And just to see that collective movement, and then to feel that collective sense of immense, massive loss, that shifted the course. Because what we believe as decent human beings, our principles and values and everything, that was not actually celebrated. And here was a person in position of power, who was antithesis of everything that we believed in. So the silver lining of it was I think everyone woke up, and now we are learning a lot. And hence, we will be making lots of mistakes. As a brand, as individuals, as people, we will be, and we should be allowed to make mistakes, because my thing is always that, yes, I made a mistake. I didn't know that. Let me learn it so I don't do it again. I don't believe in vilifying anyone. I think it's important to have a conversation, because it often results to solutions.
In terms of sustainability, how have you already seen the industry change in the past few years, and where do you see it going?
I think majority of the brands that's out there is not 100% sustainable. They are like maybe 50 to 60% sustainable, but it is a difficult task. So I always say it's important to recognize that truth and then figure out what is it, how much can you do. Responsible business practices and sustainability should be part of your ethos. Exciting thing is everyone's having a conversation. And I think that's the best first step, right? Everyone's aware of it. So everyone is in it together. That's the only way we're going to survive. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabal.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Prabal.